A movie all about someone making lists on a list from someone who's made a list of the 100 favorite movies. So many lists. At number 50, it's High Fidelity. Welcome to Long Play Video. Welcome into Long Play Video. We're going through my 100 favorite movies of all time, and episode 51, we're down to number 50 in the list.
Can you stop saying down? Oh, for God's sake. We've just covered this 50. In the bonus episode.
It's number 50 on the list, but it's over halfway. Yeah, no, so number 50 on the list is High Fidelity from the year 2000. Yeah, what do you know about this film?
I know it's a Nick Hornby book that was made into a film. I know it's got John Cusack.
Have you never seen it?
I've never seen it, no.
Oh.
I know it's got John Cusack in. I know, well, I'm pretty sure it's revolving around a record shop. Yeah, that's all I know about it. My mind's telling me, oh yeah, I remember this isn't a film that you would like. That's my knee-jerk reaction that my mind is giving me now. But then it's been wrong or many times. It's thought there were some really good films, and it turns out they're average. So it's definitely not reliable.
Your mind is going. Let me pass over the video to you then, so you can describe it, and it will back up exactly what you have said.
Well, it's good because I knew John Cusack was in it, and it's got John Cusack's face on it 9 times, so that's helpful. So he's definitely in it. So yeah, it is a record shop, obviously, and so the front cover is an LP coming out of its sleeve, of its record sleeve, of its and the front of it is obviously High Fidelity, and it's 9 different small images of John Cusack's face in different positions, which tells you absolutely zero about the film, I would say.
Apart from that, it's John Cusack, and evidently in 2000 that was enough to sell a movie, I guess. So,
which is fair enough. I'm a big John Cusack fan, so I'm all over that. He's a record store owner and compulsive list maker. Yeah, and then recounts his top 5 breakups, including the one in progress. I think that was about that. No, of course I should have known it's a romance. Why am I not surprised? Why is this a shock to me in the top half of this list? When will I learn? Well, walk us through it then, Andy. Tell us about this yet another romantic comedy on your list.
This is this isn't a romantic comedy, but it is about relationships. I feel like that's almost the title of the podcast now. This is not a romantic comedy.
This is not a romantic comedy. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, year 2000.
Were you a big Nick Hornby fan?
You know, I'm not a massive Nick Hornby fan. I've read a couple of his books that haven't been made into movies, and I've read Fever Pitch. I haven't read this. I haven't read Juliet Naked, which obviously was a long time ago on the pod. This is more that I just definitely was a John Cusack fan at the time.
Yeah,
and I think this is sort of, I would say this is getting into like peak John Cusack, and then he does actually sort of fade away. There's a story from Con Air that when Danny Trejo was being interviewed, he said that in one of the takes he stared into John Cusack's eyes and it scared him because like of the lack of emotion there. And for obviously Danny Trejo and what would be traditionally his characters, that's a bit worrying. But yeah, this is funny. He slid away quite badly, John Cusack, after this. Like there's sort of 2000, 2001. I was just looking at his IMDb. His second to last film was called Pursuit, and it has 2.8 stars out of 10.
Oh, don't tell me that. I remember him for the 80s Brat Pack, and I feel like he's a really good actor. I don't want to hear him having to do terrible films at 2.8 stars.
That is low. That is low. 2.8 is low. I wouldn't put him in the Brat Pack. Would you put him in the Brat Pack? He's kind of after that.
For sure. No, I think he's in the Brat Pack. I would say he
Is
was.
he?
You don't think? He was in with Andrew McCarthy, Rob Lowe, those guys
Yeah, I
in
mean,
films with
yeah, I
them.
suppose because of 16 Candles.
Yeah. And Class
Yeah,
is in with Andrew McCarthy.
yeah. Funny enough, yeah, I don't think I think
So in your mind, you
there's
wouldn't have classified him as Brat Pack.
no, I wouldn't.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever seen 16 Candles.
Mm.
Say anything is obviously sort of yeah, where he sort of is like the classic one that he comes out in, and then yeah, Con Air, Gross
Yeah.
Point Blank, two
Oh,
very good
Gross
movies.
Point's so good.
Yeah, and then he has like High Fidelity, America's Sweethearts, and Serendipity are all like
Mm.
back to back at these times, and
Yeah,
then
yeah.
and then the Slide Away from Glory is quite much so. But yeah,
Mm.
yeah, at the time, John Cusack movies, I'd go and see them. I think John Cusack was the person at the time I was like, I would want him to play me in a movie at the like in that
Yeah.
late 90s, early 2000s, because
Yeah.
there's just something about him. And this movie
Yeah.
is great just because of like how it goes through sort of a male perspective, and he plays, I think it's fair to say, not a
Mm.
very nice person who
Okay.
who goes on a journey, but like to begin with has absolutely zero self-awareness, and it is
Mm.
very funny sort of yeah to see his journey. In my mind it's a very 90s movie. I know it came out in
Mm.
2000, but like
Yeah. Still
a
has
lot of
all
the
those tropes.
references, yeah, and just
Yeah.
a lot of the references and a lot of the fashion, and like it's
Yeah.
quite grunge and quite yeah, I would say it sort of embodies almost sort of yeah, definitely late 90s. Obviously that's where the book's from,
Yeah.
although the book was based in the UK, and this is
Yeah.
obviously
The
not.
film is
It's
this.
based in
Yeah.
Chicago. Yeah, yeah. So yeah, no, again I remember getting it on DVD, which I think yeah I still own that same DVD now.
Yeah.
It's a great
Nice.
soundtrack, and it just moves along. It's got like you know, scene after scene, because it is a countdown of a list. Then the movie moves
Yeah.
quite well,
Yeah. Nice.
yeah, and just kind of does keep going. Yeah, I mean, I don't identify with the main character because yeah, he's awful. But you know, I'm
Yeah.
quite into lists, which might be a
Yeah. Well,
surprise.
I know. Well, when I was reading that description, I was thinking, well, this is why you like it. It's pretty obvious.
I think he's maybe like my evil twin. So you know there are
Yeah.
similarities, but yeah, I have a little bit more
This is the
self-awareness.
sliding doors. This is the other side where you could have gone down.
Yeah, it is good, and I do like that. You know, it's one character at the center of the movie. It's their sort of journey through their life. You know, it goes into it. There's a fantastic bit where he's reordering his record collection. No
Mm.
spoilers, but it just really makes me laugh. And then again, there's just some really great side characters as well that kind of
Yeah.
give support. So this is kind of where Jack Black really kind of almost becomes
Ah,
Jack Black,
okay.
I would say. Like
Yeah.
this is sort of early on in his career, and his character especially, kind of now looking back at it, you
Yeah.
recognize a lot of the tropes, but at the time it was kind of the first time that you'd seen him in this type of role, you know, very sort of almost sort of very loud, very kind of in your
Mm.
face and stuff. And he'd been in a bunch of movies up until then, but like not as yeah, kind of dominant. And then
Yeah.
yeah, kind of this is then when he almost sort of yeah starts becoming Jack Black that we'd
Yeah.
know.
The
Shallow
yeah.
Hal is a year after this, which
Yeah.
obviously isn't a good movie, but is a him as the lead, which for that type of movie, yeah,
Yeah.
is quite yeah
And
different. And then kind of yeah, he goes into it. So this is
because yeah,
really like
I was gonna say yeah, we see a bit of him, don't we, in like Be Kind Rewind, but he's not really his full what we would know as, you know, that Jack Black character. He hasn't
yeah
really like fully fledged into it. So this is where he's real personified that version of him that comes out in this film.
yeah. Be Kind Rewind's actually 2008. So Be
Oh,
Kind
okay.
Rewind is like way after this,
Is
where
it?
he's actually like playing down his persona,
Yeah.
because he's kind of yeah
Wow.
he's gone full Jack Black, and then back
And
again,
then
I guess.
had to Pull it back a bit. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
exactly. Yeah.
yeah, so yeah, why is it on the list then? What did you when did you see it? What's the yeah the guy that you could have been that you weren't quite? What's the
No,
why is it? Yeah.
yeah, no. I just really like it. I think it's a very funny film. I think
Yeah.
it's because he's sort of talking about his breakups, and each of his breakups are sort of very different. Then I think
Yeah.
everyone can identify with a little bit of his experience. I was
Okay.
listening to a pod on it, and this lady was sort of saying, "Yeah, I really like High Fidelity," and she said, "But whenever I say that, there's always a guy there who's like, no, I really like High Fidelity. Like it's just amazing." And
Yeah. Yeah.
so I think, yeah, there's things in it. Again, I think mostly because of Nick Hornby and the way that he writes,
Yeah.
and being so good at it, that he sort of brings up that kind of everyman of the 90s almost, and there's so many
Yeah.
different things sort of from it that people will just there'll just be sort of one or two bits that people will identify with, I think, and
Yeah.
yeah, kind of see themselves in, and especially I think for me, from a character point of view,
Yeah.
it's just so funny because the main character is so unlikable in a lot of ways,
Mm, yeah.
but it's John Cusack, so he's kind of likable.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
he almost like goes from zero awareness to like 1% awareness. And I think
Yeah. Okay.
it's just that kind of funny. Yeah, there is, I will warn you, there is talking to the camera,
Yeah.
which is they kind of had to do to get a lot of the lines from the book in it. And so
Interesting.
yeah, I the music is really good. I sort of think it's very 90s, sort of talking about the music and
Yeah.
kind of what the music means to you and stuff like that. And I think I just remember it being really funny. It'll be interesting to see whether it does
Yeah.
stand up, because
Yeah.
the main character is so from the podcast I listened to, I loved this line.
Yeah.
They quote the first line of the movie, which we had last week, and
Yeah.
the podcast host just said, "Well, what came first, the music or the misery?" Rob is miserable because he doesn't yet know what a twat he is. And
Yeah.
think
Okay.
that's
Right.
basically the way you should start for the movie, kind of
Yeah.
going from there. I'm surprised that
Interesting.
you've never seen this, because
Yeah.
this was on a lot. It was quite sort of from a rewatchable
Yeah.
point of view, like early
It,
2000s. So yeah.
yeah. And I have read some Nick Hornby books before. I don't think I've read this one from memory. So yeah, I mean, I don't know what it was. I don't know. And I am a big John Cusack fan. I really like John Cusack.
I mean, this is where you're
Yeah.
setting me up
He said father, son. Yeah.
for you saying that you should really. You talk about me talking up movies.
Um,
This is your like. This could be my favorite movie of all time, and then we'll come
yeah.
back and you'll be like,
Hated.
rubbish. That was rubbish.
Yeah. Yeah, no, there was something about it. In my mind, I do remember thinking, oh, I don't think I'm going to like that. I don't know if I just saw the trailer and I didn't like, because it's a record shop. I don't know if it was just a bit too like artsy, and I was like, I'm not sure I'm going to enjoy that.
Ah,
But yeah, I've definitely, I definitely did
no
have opportunity
explosions.
to,
No
yeah,
car
exactly, no
chases. Is that
explosions.
what you
It's no Con Air. I just said, yeah, I mean, yeah, you got to land a plane on the Vegas Strip. That's what needs to happen.
mean? And just keep
I,
going, and then get on
yeah,
something that's going to smash your head in there. It just doesn't know when
yeah.
to. Just doesn't know when to
Well,
quit.
it doesn't need a stop. It just needs to keep going. It's the best of the best. Yeah, I think I definitely had opportunity to watch this, and I know that there definitely would have been opportunities, and I just didn't. I didn't fancy it. Maybe it was, I don't know, because it would have had About a Boy would have come out as well. Maybe I was just like, oh, I don't know if it's going to be a bit like that, and I'm not really fussed about watching that. I don't know. But I've never seen it, and yeah, like you said, I mean, this looks on paper, this looks like a film that I might enjoy. So I had no idea that it was actually a list of his breakups. I had no
Yeah.
idea it was about that at all. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
so he sort of talks about like top
interesting.
fives and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, a lot.
Is
And
this what
you
gave
know,
you the idea of doing your top 100 podcast?
no, but funnily enough,
Mm.
the autobiography, the record collection bit. Yeah, we'll talk about it afterwards because I think you'll recognize some of it there. But
Yeah,
I mean,
okay.
I am a sucker for the top 5 and top 10 lists just generally. Like that's
Yeah.
all of the clickbait content that I get sent. Those are the ones
Yeah.
that I put through, and this is pretty much
Yeah.
how I built my list, was going through sort of top 20 movies of the 90s, top 20
Yeah.
movies of the 2000s.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's just really funny. I think like the
Yeah.
characters feel very true, feel very lived in,
Yeah.
aren't particularly nice people, or
Mm.
it's interesting because I think in now kind of in a lot of ways it will be interesting to see whether it stands up. I can imagine that this, not that it's been cancelled, but that it's not popular because the main character is not a good guy and is sort of misogynistic. But like, as with all of these films, I don't think you're supposed to like want to be him or like him particularly. It is just like his journey, and yeah, obviously sort of nowadays I think a lot of people they worry if the main character is not a nice person, because it's a bit like Fight Club where you're like, no, you're not supposed to want to be Edward Norton in Fight Club. That's not, you've missed the point of the movie. And it's a bit like this where it is a very sort of lived in, the characters are very good, the way they interplay. It has got that sort of Nick Hornby, side characters who are quite funny, who pop up and go out. But like there's sort of something that goes through all of it. It will be interesting because it is such a, because it's a book, as I say, it does. John Cusack does talk to the camera, and I know that he didn't really want that. He sort of said, this is there any way that we can not have that be part of it? Because obviously it is a different type of movie if someone talks directly to the character, but directly to the camera. But then I do, just think it works, and just think it's funny because of it.
Yeah, that's interesting. And like, it definitely sounds like, I think it's something that I will like. But we'll obviously wait and see, because we definitely have been here before.
We've been here before.
I would have thought that, you said, what's the other one? Fever Pitch. Would Fever Pitch not have been more like your thing? I like with the football and stuff.
Yeah, I mean, I read Fever Pitch, and did enjoy it. Yeah, no, they made it into movie. I think I watched it after I'd read it.
Yeah,
it's a much smaller movie. I mean, it's about Arsenal, so. As with their second half is a bit boring.
Is that why?
but yeah, no, I just think that he writes very well of like certain sort of view of, I think, men in England in the 1990s. I can imagine that his work will kind of be will kind of embody that. And I definitely, as I say, like, this feels like sort of the end of the 90s almost, as a way to sort of like sum it all up in a lot of ways, because it just feels very 90s to me.
I think you're right. Like, his books have that feel, don't they? And it's very much of an era, of a time, of a style. So I think that's the thing. I'll be interested to see if this produces the style that I expect from sort of Nick Hornby films. But it doesn't sound, it definitely, I mean, you've set it up like not to sound like a romance, but I'm skeptical because I know how much romance you love in your life. So
it's about relationships more than it's about romance. I would say that.
Okay. All right. Well, and it's in the top 50. This is the first one in the top 50. So,
stop going on about it.
This is a big deal.
But can't actually stay at 50, right? Because we have number 50 because of Malcolm X. So I mean, will it drop out of the top 50, or will it move up?
This is interesting. So it's got like you said, Jack Black's in it, Catherine Zeta-Jones, Tim Robbins, Joan Cusack. So it's got a good cast in it as well.
Lisa Bonet. Pops up as a guest as well. So they've just made a TV show of it as well. with Zoe Kravitz, so Lisa
Oh
Bonet's
no.
daughter, and they
Yeah.
flipped it. So like the main character's Zoe Kravitz,
Oh yeah.
and
Oh,
it's
and
good.
she does her top five breakouts.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and
Yeah.
she's the person, and it's really good. Funnily enough, it's quite jarring because there's obviously entire sort of sentences from the book that
Yeah.
she will say to the camera or John Cusack will say to the camera. And so it's a bit
Yeah.
jarring where there are lines that are exactly the same. And you're a bit like, yeah,
Okay.
I've watched this. But no, it was really good. And I think, again, like there is a bit of universality to it
Yeah.
that kind of speaks to it.
Is this going to be a Firefly scenario? Do I need to watch this TV series before I watch the film?
No, because it's
Or are we
exactly
doing
the
okay?
same. It's exactly the
Yeah,
same.
okay.
Like, so
Just
yeah, it's
reversed.
not, yeah, it doesn't build up to anything. Like, it's
Yeah.
exactly the same story.
Okay.
And yeah, it was good. But again, yeah,
Mm.
I think the story fits into a movie. It doesn't need to be a
Yeah.
four
Yeah.
series. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
Course.
Well, I'm yeah, I would say normally I'm interested to watch this, but then we know that from previous previous history tells us that this sounds like I should like it, but I might not. So,
Yeah.
but
It's
I'm
just
intrigued to watch it, whatever happens, whether I like it or not. I do think I had no idea that was is what it was about. So I'm like, oh, actually, that does sound interesting. So I'm interested
yeah.
in it.
And then, yeah, I mean, obviously, so it's funny. We kind of, I think we started the list with kind of talking about music in films and stuff with a few different ones, with
Yeah.
Juliet Naked and Once, and yeah, like just sort of talking about whether you're into whether you're into music or into movies. And this is
Uh,
like this has a lot of references to a lot of bands and a
mm,
lot of music. So yeah, no, it'll be interesting, and also interesting as we go into it, the battle of the record shops. Because in a few weeks'
yeah.
time,
Okay.
we'll have another movie based in a record shop. But no
Mm,
spoilers for that. So
yeah.
yeah,
All
let's
right
get
then.
it. Yeah, let's
Let's
get
get
it
it
on
on.
and see what you think, and we'll find out after the jump. Okay, well, Kev wanders off to get the movie on. I mean, clearly he said that he thinks he'd like this a lot, which begs the question why he's not seen it so far. And I feel like knowing Kev a little bit that he's going to come back and be like, "Oh yeah, this was the reason I never watched this. There was something really annoying about it, or there's going to be something." But I think it's a funny film. I think yeah, the main character. It's not that he's problematic because I don't think he's supposed to be a good guy, but I think it's a funny thing whether he will like him or not, and that kind of influences how you see it. So I think he's going to be on the fence. I think it's going to be a low good film because I feel like with everything that there is, as we've learned, there must have been something that stopped him from watching this rather than he just wasn't aware of it. So yeah, let's put it on and find out, I guess.
Good. I think it was
Good, I
what
think.
just good. Yeah. Well, it was good. I did enjoy it. Yeah, I was trying to think of a way to describe it. It's just very like mellow, isn't it? It's just like a
Yeah.
nice sort of film. And I was thinking afterwards, like, did I enjoy it or not? You kind of think, oh, so what kind of happens? You know, well, great deal does really happen, but I do think, yeah, no, but I did enjoy it. I think, I've finished off and thought, oh yeah, it was nice. It was a nice film. And I think we're getting into the crux of this now, which is really this is working out well with our rom-com versus like, what was it where we said romantic adventures? This felt more like a romantic adventure to me. So I was like, yeah, this doesn't, it's not like a bog standard rom-com. So this is definitely
Yeah.
more my type of romance film, I would say. So yeah, I enjoyed it. Did
Nice.
you enjoy it
Nice.
on the rewatch?
Yeah, it felt very much a movie of two halves this
Mm.
time. I think for the first half of the movie, it's a bit too much about him, I would say. and like,
Yeah.
and he's so miserable.
Yeah.
He's such an unlikable character that you're kind of like, why is anyone dating this
Yeah.
person? Because
He's
he's
so
such an
petulant with all
idiot.
the
He is.
breakups, isn't he? Just kicking stuff around.
He is just
Yeah.
so funny with it.
Mm.
Even like when he calls up the first one and he's like, well, technically I was her first boyfriend.
Yeah.
Like it matters. And I think
Uh,
that's why it's so funny. You are laughing at him. But
yeah.
then and yeah, sort of obviously there's now undertones and like incels and the sort of the patriarchy and like
Yeah.
there's a lot to that now in the first half. But then,
Yeah.
and I was watching it, kind of being like, this isn't great. And then that second half is just awesome. Like when it becomes much less just about him, and
Yeah.
actually Laura comes back in and has a lot more agency. Dick and Barry, you get to
Yeah.
sort of discover them more. Like when you're first introduced to them, you're kind of like, oh, okay, they just sort of work there. But then, like when they're talking about the Evil Dead 2, and he's like, well, we went to see it, and so they are friends, and then they go out, they're going out drinking or they're going out like listening to
Yeah.
music and stuff, and like their dynamic starts becoming really just, I think, really nice and like really
Mm.
really great together. I think is when Dick has the date and Barry he's making fun of him, but then actually he sort of stops and is just like, oh, good on you, like really,
Yeah.
like almost sort of, yeah, well done, like, yeah,
Yeah.
I hope you have a good time. And it's just very endearing and very sweet, rather than just,
Yeah.
okay, well, this is gonna be like a punchline that is just gonna be there. So the
Yeah.
second half, I just felt, yeah, I
Like it just,
really,
yeah,
really still
more
enjoyed
depth
it.
to it.
And yeah, it just
Yeah.
stopped being just about him and him being miserable, which is funny in the first half. But I think
Yeah.
if you would have had the entire film doing that, then I think it would have been a bit like, this is a bit self-indulgent and a bit, yeah, and a bit kind of
Yeah.
pointless.
Yeah. I think for me, that was watching it for the first time. It was quite good in that it didn't feel too like miserable and sad, even though he's obviously broken up with his girlfriend. It didn't feel to me like he was like, oh, I'm really sad. And it was like really remote. And you're like, God, this is like, why are we watching this? Like he was sad, but obviously he goes through the list and he's at work and he's chatting and although it is like you said, it is just very much about him and he's like him being like a man child. So but yeah, but I didn't feel it didn't feel like sad and stuff. So I actually sort of enjoyed it from that perspective. I was like, oh well, at least it's still like moving along and I'm
Yeah.
learning more about his character and like you said, whether that's a good character or not. But it still felt good. It didn't just feel like he was just sitting down eating ice cream.
Well, because you're going back into his past, and you kind of you get through sort of four of the five breakups, or I guess three of the four
Yeah.
breakups. You get through them actually
Yeah.
really really quickly, and
Yeah. Super
I
quick.
was yeah, I was like, oh, okay, yeah, I sort of remember that lasting more of the film, but actually what that allows for is then for other stuff, and for kind of the dynamics that aren't about the past, so that by the
Yeah.
time that he sort of, yeah, he sits down with Charlie, with Catherine Zeta, like
Yeah.
actually almost the film has already moved on to then being more about, yeah, like the
Yeah.
dynamic, and obviously like, yeah, I find that then the dynamic in the shop is a lot better because Dick and Barry are a lot more kind of fleshed out as
Yeah.
characters, as well as even like, Joan Cusack coming into it, and like, yeah,
Yeah.
like talking to him and stuff. It just, obviously, like, it's a bit of just kind of a comedic punch to begin with when she just walks into the
Yeah.
shop. But like then actually I think when they sit down and she's like, you've got to stop doing all of this. You're upsetting Laura, you're upsetting him. And then he's like, well, I
Mm.
don't care about him. And she's like, you're making them into a unit against you.
Yeah.
You don't
Yeah.
want that. And like almost from that moment, he's like, oh yeah, I don't. And then like, for me, the film shifts quite a lot and actually becomes, yeah, just yeah, really fun and a lot better, because you then have, yeah, sort of different top five lists, and the top five lists actually sort of, yeah, it kind of come into it a bit more, and you've got
Yeah.
the jobs and the like
Yeah.
the side one, track one. When you have Beethoven, when you have the Beatles.
Yeah, they start really getting into it, don't they? Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, the top
yeah,
five dream jobs, that was crazy. And she's like, you've got a job on here that in your top five that you don't even want to do. It's just
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's on
Architect,
a
yeah,
fant
sounds.
yeah. It sounds like it could be all right. A fanciful list, and you've not is one of the things you don't even want to do on there. Just
Yeah,
showed you how like crazy what his character is, I guess, is that
yeah,
he comes up with all these lists, and then there's so many like crazy things that happen and he's like such a baby. You're just like,
yeah,
what the hell? Like definitely in the breakups, you're like, what is going on? And then he just he's just you're like, no one would stay around for this long. Like she wouldn't stay around. The reality is she'd be gone thinking you're an idiot. Like I'm going. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And then like at the end when he sees that other girl come in, and that there's a couple of good funny scenes in that where he's just flirting with her in the shop, the journalist, and then
yeah,
Barry's it, who's Jack Black,
yeah.
he says, "Oh, there's a phone call for you," and he's like, "Yeah, tell them I'll call them back." All right, I'm just letting you know it's your girlfriend. You're like, nice, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
But
but
that's really weird as well, right? Like he's moving that along, going, "Oh, I'm trying to create a tape for it," and you're just like, "What's going on? What is wrong with this guy?
but
Like, how
that is
old is he
kind of
supposed to be?"
yeah, but I think that's why it's so funny because even like then he's like he's making the tape and then
Yeah.
he just like takes the tape out and just like shouts like why when is this going to stop? So that's kind of the
Yeah.
moment that he does actually realize what he's doing, whereas he's just kind of fallen back into it. Even as I think I love the fact that he's taken what Laura has told him about, like, well, you're always the critic. And so this is a
Yeah,
big
yeah,
deal because you're putting something out there. And then instantly you see him on the phone to the
yeah.
journalist being like, I've always considered myself a critic. And like just basically like saying
Yeah,
what Laura's told him. But and
yeah,
then when he says, oh, I'm making a tape for it, you can see that Laura's just like
yeah,
yeah, when will this end type thing,
yeah,
and just isn't going to say anything. And she brings it up, doesn't she, when he then
yeah,
proposes? She's like, well, you were making a tape for that lady the other day. And
yeah,
he was just
yeah,
like, and I think that, but I think that is actually, I think I said in the first half, like this is someone who has zero self-awareness getting to like
yeah,
maybe like 1% or
yeah,
0.5% awareness. And actually almost, that 0 to 1 is almost as much fun as anything else, because the fact is
yeah.
that he's not then perfect. Like when he gets back to
Oh my God,
Laura, I
no.
think if it was a
Yeah,
rom-com, it would be like, okay, and now we're going to get
yeah.
married and
They
it's
would
all
get
going to be
married. Yeah,
fine and
yeah,
everything's kind of fine. But actually,
yeah,
it's not. He's still a bit of a dick, and he's
yeah,
still
yeah,
not a particularly good guy. But he's slowly like, oh, actually,
yeah,
like this isn't working. This isn't working for me, and actually, I need
yeah,
to make a change. Which, yeah, I don't know how old he is
yeah,
supposed to be, but it
yeah,
seems late to make that change. But it's
yeah,
that like, oh, my life. Yeah, I need to change this. It's that realization that
yeah,
why does this always happen to me? Oh, it's me. Oh, actually, maybe
yeah.
I need to do something different,
Yeah,
which I think is why it's then so fun.
yeah, that bit, that scene, and even like you said, that's the, I guess, the revelation or the realization scene that when he proposes to her in like a
Yeah,
really weird, awkward fashion, and even
great
then,
proposal
like, is
though.
that
Great proposal.
yeah, is that what you use as well? Is that you got some
But I
tips in
think I
that?
think it's I think it's a great one because that's like
Mm.
it's a very honest like yeah
Yeah,
I
but he
I
doesn't
want to
really
live in the
believe it.
reality.
That's the
But he's like,
problem.
I want to live in the reality rather than almost sort of daydreaming about all of these other
Yeah.
people. And
But
so,
that's what I find amazing about the like I say, like that's the revelation or the realization scene. And it's not that he's like, oh, I've realized something big. He's just thinking, oh yeah, it's just a fantasy and they never quite come true. Not saying, oh yeah, Laura, I've realized how much happiness you bring me and I really want to be with you. Just realizing that what he actually thinks he wants, he could never get. That's the
that's harsh.
revelation.
No, he says that he's tired of the fantasy and he's never tired of her.
He
That's
does say that
that's the
eventually.
that's
Yeah,
the
he gets to
romantic
it.
line.
Yeah,
Yeah, no, but it's very true. And like even when she answers and he's kind of like, well, I figure that asking the question is actually almost more important than
Yeah,
the answer, which I think
yeah,
is kind of
yeah.
true,
That was
isn't
a
it?
good
In
line.
some ways,
Yeah.
like, and I think that's the thing. Again, he's not Mr. Self-aware. Like they didn't go the
Mm,
rom-com, kind of
no.
like with Juliet Naked, right? It's not that it's a perfect. It's a, they don't go into then a cliche of, oh, okay, everything's perfect. It's still
Yeah,
messy. It's still life, but like it's just kind of like, yeah, but you know what, yeah, I have grown just a little bit and
yeah.
like
A
changed
tiny
it.
bit.
And yeah,
Yeah.
because even for Laura, she's like, I'm just too tired not to be with you. And he's like, so if you had more energy we wouldn't be together. And she's like, yeah. And he's kind of like, oh, actually I'll take that, that's fine, that's fine.
Yeah, and I didn't realize. I like just thinking about things that I liked about it. I didn't realize how many cameos there were in it. There were so many
Yeah,
people in it, and like nice little, not like big fleshed out roles either. Like real, like what you would definitely classify as a cameo. And randomly,
yeah.
Bruce Springsteen just being in it
Yeah,
for like
that
two
that is
seconds.
that
Yeah,
is the most random
yeah.
guest star. So
I
so
felt like,
apparently with that, so he started like strumming and basically
yeah.
like almost made up a song when he was doing it. Apparently the director had to say to him like, can you not do that? Because we can't, if you make up a song while we're filming you, we can't afford the rights
Oh
to that
wow.
song. So is it
Yeah,
okay, like please just do scales or something? But like apparently Bruce
yeah.
Springsteen was just making up a song on the spot. And they were like,
Wow.
no,
There you
don't
go.
do that because that's too expensive. So
Amazing. There you
yeah, but it's
go.
so
Yeah,
weird
that
that
was
he's
super
just in
weird.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like I'd gone back a week into an Adam Sandler movie. I was like, this feels like definitely an Adam Sandler movie. Very surreal. But yeah, good cameo. Tim Robbins was great. And it
Yeah, he's so
reminded me,
funny.
like, I'm like, you mean, I'm
Whatever happened to that
obviously,
guy?
well, yeah, exactly. That's what I was just going to say. I mean, obviously, I guess, if you're an actor, maybe you don't want to do it forever. And if you're astute enough and you think you've made enough money and you have a reasonable lifestyle, maybe you just decide to get out of the game. But yeah, it's a shame. I think he did some great films. I really enjoyed him, but he was funny. He was very good. Catherine Zeta-Jones was good as well. There were just loads of like little like proper mini cameos, and I thought they were
Yeah,
all really, really good. So
yeah.
yeah,
Lisa
they were good.
Bonet. Have to have a shout out for
Yeah,
Lisa Bonet, like
yeah. She was really good. Yeah. So
especially
yeah,
with the
she
'90s references as well. The Cosby
yeah,
sweater. I do like
yeah. All
that.
Cosby shows.
It's a
Yeah. Was there anything that you didn't like about it on this watch? Like, I guess you said the first half was a bit slower than you remember and not as enjoyable, maybe.
yeah, no, yeah. I think it felt very jarring. He's so immature in the
Oh
first
God,
half.
yeah.
He seems older. He looks older than I remember,
Then
and
you
he sort
meant,
of
yeah.
I didn't quite know like now what age to
Mm,
peg him at. I'm not sure what age he's supposed to be at because so
yeah.
he goes out with Charlie for 2 years in college. Then he says like that he wakes up and he owns a record store, which is interesting. And then he's like he's been in the record store for at least 4 years. So is
Mm.
he supposed to be like mid 20s? In which case he
Whoa.
definitely doesn't look mid 20s.
No, I
So
was saying, yeah, he definitely
yeah,
looks mid-30s really in this. But then you're
yeah,
right, you're like, well, is this character mid-30s? Is that who he's supposed to be? I was trying to remember
yeah.
because I was thinking, is this obviously it's based on the book? Is the book an autobiographic, or is it just a story? I don't know. Do you know the Nick
Uh,
Hornby one?
yeah, what do you mean?
Like, is it based on his actual life, or is it just a
Oh
made
no,
up
no,
story?
no. Yeah, it's just
It's just made up.
just a made up
Yeah,
story,
yeah. Oh,
like
yeah.
all of
So
them.
we can't work
Although
out how
all
old he was then.
All Nick
Yeah,
Hornby books are about a
yeah.
man child. So I'm not sure, like, sure whether I would
Uh,
suggest dating Nick Hornby. I'm
yeah,
sure he's married and it's fine. Yeah, no, I think
yeah.
so. John Cusack's 34 in it, and
Oh,
I don't know.
wow.
It
He doesn't
feels
look
if
34. He
yeah,
looks older.
it feels like it should be mid 20s, doesn't it? Really, because he's just sort of he's
Yeah, he
just kind
doesn't
of
act
getting
mid-20s, I don't think.
yeah,
He's got his own business and stuff, and he seems quite settled down in a way in his mind. Like he's like, oh, I've got my job and I do this and I'm adult minded. So yeah, I wouldn't have thought. I don't think the character comes off as mid-20s if that's what they're aiming
Yeah.
for. But you're right.
Yeah,
In
I
theory, in terms of
presume.
years, it would have to
Yeah.
be right.
Yeah, that's it because I think, and yeah, maybe I sort of, yeah, early 20s, definitely. I do think that you kind of go through a
Yeah,
bit of a, like, yeah, almost that first time of like, what am I doing with my life? Was is what I'm doing
yeah.
working for me and stuff, in a very, yeah, early 20s type way.
And
But
we're getting
like,
back to 2005 Andy.
2005, yeah, exactly. But that's the thing, like, yeah, I kind of couldn't really figure out, yeah, exactly what age
Mm.
he was supposed to be because he does act very young and very, yeah, like selfish and everything
I
else.
think his emotional intelligence is like horrifically low, like
Yeah, that's
unbelievably
that's the
low.
0%.
Yeah. Whereas I think like his general adult life acting and what he's been to, you just feel like he's much older than his 20s. He
Yeah,
doesn't play it, I don't think, as like an immature 26-year-old. Do you know what I mean?
yeah,
Emotionally, he's very immature, but he doesn't seem, I don't think he plays it immature, the actual character. So yeah, so that's why I was like with you, I was like, yeah, I don't, it doesn't feel like he's playing a mid-20s character, but obviously he is. But then even
yeah.
when he does the DJing thing and he's like DJ for old people and stuff, I'm like, well, that feels like more
Yeah.
the thing that you would do in your mid-30s. Like I feel like I would have said mid-30s, but you're right. But then, God, can you imagine getting to your mid-30s and still having that level of low emotional intelligence? I mean, God Almighty, how would you have made it that far? I don't know, but
I suppose because they've been dating
mm,
for a while as well. I suppose do they
mm,
say how long he's been dating Laura? I think that's supposed to be like
years.
for, yeah, for a few years, isn't it? So yeah,
Yeah.
because he's been doing the DJ thing. So yeah, like, yeah, maybe it's supposed to be like, maybe like at that 30ish
Yeah.
age group. So yeah, no, it kind of, it kind of reminded me a little bit of Limitless in like the first 20
Oh,
minutes
harsh.
is getting
Yeah.
harder to watch,
Yeah.
but actually then the last half of the movie is, yeah, does really make up for it.
Yeah.
So, like, I think I still think it's one of the best reveals when Jack Black starts singing. I just love that
Yeah.
moment where
Yeah.
he's
And
just
you're like,
like
what? Yeah.
he's expecting they're gonna burn this place down, and then he's like,
Yeah.
it's Barry Jive and the Uptown Five, and then he just
Yeah.
starts singing it.
That is
As
just great.
Yeah, it's just brilliant. And I think that's the
Yeah.
thing. Like, it does. It just, yeah, it very much, the second half like leaves you with a smile on your face, and yeah,
Yeah.
and it's good. And the first half, yeah, just again, like, yeah, it just seems, yeah, almost over the top. If you, is it about
Yeah.
2 hours? Is it like, could you,
Yeah. It's pretty much two
yeah,
hours. I
like,
mean,
could
on the
you
first watch,
shave
it
down the
felt,
first bit? Yeah,
yeah. I mean, like you said, they get through the first three like breakups pretty quickly. But
yeah,
could they tighten up some other bits and pieces? I guess they probably could. Yeah, on the first watch, it didn't feel long. I didn't feel
no,
like it.
yeah, it
Like I
does
was like,
move.
oh, yeah. Like I mean, the first, like you said, the first three really power through them. And I was thinking, blimey, like it's only a top five. What's going to happen here? So, but yeah, maybe the bit where he's sort of pining after Laura a bit, and he's just like phoning her and chatting to Tim Robbins. Maybe that bit could have been tightened up a little bit.
Yeah, like the
Yeah.
fantasy sequences with Tim Robbins is just really
Yeah.
funny. Like, especially
Yeah.
when Dick like jumps
Yeah.
over and hits him with the
Yeah. The
the phone
telephone.
is just brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, that's good. So it's saying here, apparently in the book, he's supposed to be 35. So I mean, obviously the
Oh
film might
wow.
be different, but yeah, that feels
Okay.
more correct. And I think maybe the problem is because he owns the record store as well, and you're like, oh, a
Yeah.
person in their 20s wouldn't be able to do that. So you're
Yeah.
right, yeah, maybe that's where our mind's sort of pushing him a bit older, and they were trying to
Yeah.
recreate the same as the book, but give the character a younger feel. Don't know, but yeah,
Yeah.
definitely, I think you're
Yeah.
right. That he
It's
felt older.
yeah, it's a bit, yeah, it's a bit jarring.
Yeah.
I would say, so
And do you
like
think?
35-year-old being like that. So,
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm sure if we open this poll up to the female population, they will probably confirm for us that there are a plethora of 30, probably also 40, 15, 60-year-old men that are this emotionally intelligent.
Zero
So,
emotional intelligence. Is this
yeah.
where we do your top 5 breakups, Kev? Is that what you're saying?
No, I we're definitely not doing that.
We'll protect the innocent. It's fine.
Uh, the, so yeah, I'll try to think about any data. It's hard, isn't it? And we've said this before because obviously it's sort of set in a period of time. So I don't really think there was anything. I mean, obviously it was funny seeing old payphones and corded
Yeah.
phones. You have to like
Everything
run
about
to
the
the
phones,
phone.
phone books
Yeah, yeah, folks. Yeah,
as
yeah,
well,
yeah,
and the fact that you could
yeah.
just phone up and get someone's phone number and address. Like, surely, like that's not a good idea. He's like, "Can I get the address as
Yeah,
well?" You'd be a bit like data privacy now,
yeah,
which is weird,
yeah.
isn't it? Is that because it was
Yeah, I don't
simpler
know.
times or it's scarier
We're
times
just.
now? Like, yeah,
I
don't know.
do think it's scarier times now. I do think that, but I don't know if people always think that as they get older.
Because your
I think
address used to
like
be in the phone book.
yeah, in the
You
phone
literally
book, yeah,
you could just find
yeah,
someone's.
yeah.
Could you do that online now? If someone looked you up, would they be able to find your address easier
They will
or
be able to
harder
find.
than you could?
No, they wouldn't be able to. Not
Well, I mean,
now.
not
I don't
yours.
think. Not definitely not mine. No, thankfully. Yeah.
To be fair, but
Yeah.
yeah, no,
Yeah.
like yeah. So
I
it
don't
used
think
to
you
be
could.
easier to find someone's address. Do we think
Yeah. Yeah.
than
Yeah.
the age of the internet?
Definitely. Yeah, because you're right. Yeah. You had the actual phone book.
You
The only
you got
thing
it
was.
delivered to your house.
But the only thing is, if it's like a John Smith, you know, this is going to get a bit awkward because there's
Yeah,
going to be a
yeah.
few. So, you're
But
going to
then you
be
could just
busy.
literally call them.
Mm.
You could literally call them all up. There's, I
Yeah, I
mean,
guess so.
it's
Mm.
really funny to sort of okay. So every year, someone would deliver a book with everyone's phone
I
number and
know.
address
Yeah.
in the local area.
Yeah.
Yeah, GDPR wise, that's not going to fly.
Yeah.
It's not going to fly
Not going to
now.
work anymore.
So
No.
it's just
Yeah.
it's just funny in some way. Obviously, the internet's given us more information and less information, especially if you
Yeah.
want to stalk people.
Yeah. 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 Exactly. Yeah. Well, we'll stay away from that one. But what did you have for the aliens?
Yeah, I stuck with making it very simple with a man goes from 0% self-awareness to
Yeah.
0.5%. It was just
Yeah.
we don't want the
Yeah.
aliens thinking that this is an evolved member. We're not going to send John Cusack up to who did we say
Yeah.
we were going to send up to the aliens to
Oh
represent us? I
God.
can't remember.
It
Maybe it
was.
was Michael J. Fox in the Concierge. I think maybe we're definitely
Yeah.
not sending this guy.
It's Michael J. Fox, what a legend. I still can't believe that The Concierge is yeah, your best Michael J. Fox film today. Like,
Such a great film.
it's just, yeah, it really pains me. That's a big Michael J. Fox fan. I just put, yeah, similar to you, a man child grows up into a man, although I don't know if he does quite make it into a man. And then I put through the medium of rejection. So,
Nice.
it is interesting. Like I think you're right. That's why I liked it more than I think like I do like if it was just a rom-com. Is that he's so unaware of his emotions that he's
Yeah.
also even though he's broken up, he's almost not heartbroken because he doesn't quite understand it still as well.
Yeah.
So it's very weird because he's kind of upset but not really almost angry rather than sad,
Yeah. He's not
which is
emotionally
weird.
intelligent enough to yeah, know what he's feeling for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, yeah. Did you have any questions you thought it asked or answered?
I mean, it kicks off with listening to pop music. Did listening to pop music make me
Yeah,
miserable, or was it miserable because I listened to pop music? Which I do think is a
yeah.
great
That's a
fundamental
good.
question because yeah, I definitely think they go into each other. Funny enough, my daughter asked me what fidelity meant when she saw the
Yes.
DVD.
Yeah.
And then I was sort of trying to explain it, and
Same.
then I
Someone asked me
and
the
then I
same thing.
I
Yeah.
really nice.
Yeah.
And then I was like, and high fidelity. What? Yeah. What did you have? Because all of a sudden I was like, that really weird title. Like it does
Yeah.
almost capture it in a weird way. But I was like, but high
Well,
fidelity because
yeah, I had to look it
you
up in the end because I think it's very difficult to describe, and I don't know if it's just because the older you get, you don't. I don't read the dictionary anymore, so I've forgotten how to
did you
describe
ever?
things. No, yeah, obviously not. Yeah, like it is a strange word, isn't it? And he plays it in such a way that it really doesn't. Obviously, fidelity. You're thinking, the two forms like really high quality, which I guess works in the audio piece of it, of the
Yeah.
vinyl stuff. But then obviously fidelity from more of a sexual perspective as well of having good fidelity. And yeah, it's almost like it's almost like he actually has no idea what that word means. And he's just like he's on like a completely different planet on it and thinking, yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Yeah.
how did you
Because like
describe it to a 9-year-old?
I said that it means you keep promises, that
Yeah,
you are
okay.
faithful
Good
to a
description.
promise. Because I do still read
Nice.
the dictionary,
Yeah.
but like, yeah, then high fidelity, because obviously
Yeah.
you either have fidelity or you don't. So then,
Mm.
so like, it's the equivalent of very good, right? You can't, good
Yeah.
is just a statement. You can't have like different levels of good. So
Yeah.
yeah, no, yeah,
Yeah.
it's just one of those funny things where suddenly like something obviously that I've seen 1,000 times, and my a
Yeah.
9-year-old's like, what does that mean? You're like, you know what?
Yeah.
I've never thought about that
Yeah.
at all. Which
Destroyed me. Bang.
I love it. I love it. 9-year-olds have the best questions,
Yeah. But
and
yeah,
then I
you were ready for all these questions about like the complexities of emotional intelligence and the evolution of man. And she's like,
uh,
what does fidelity mean? And you're like, got me.
there we go. Yeah, the DVD is actually really good because it does have like liner notes in it, and it has
Okay.
almost as though it was a tape. And in there,
Nice.
there's actually the top five. It's like the top five songs when you've broken up with someone and you want to send them a tape to like passively aggressive, tell them how upset you are. And then like that doesn't,
Uh,
obviously that's probably maybe from the book, I guess, because it doesn't feature
yeah.
anywhere in the film. And
Yeah.
then the other question, what song do you have at your funeral? Which obviously they talk
Yeah.
about. One Step Beyond, I think is
Yeah.
an awesome choice,
Yeah.
which
Yes. Yeah.
they come up with. But
Yeah.
yeah, what song would you have at your funeral?
Oh, I don't know. I'd want something happy, I think. I always think that funerals are always such a sad affair, and obviously it is sad, but it's inevitable for everyone, right? So I'd
Mm.
rather people celebrated my life than commiserated my death. So I don't know. It'd have to be something happy. So
Something
I don't
from
know.
a Rambo film or
I mean, I
a
was
new
about to
film from
say
the
it would
80s.
probably be something from the 80s, I'd imagine. So
Miami
just
Vice
a
theme.
yeah.
As people are leaving.
Oh,
Do, do,
well,
do, do,
I
do,
would
do.
I would make sure that you're there and I'll be playing the Back to the Future soundtrack so that you could feel bad that it wasn't on your list.
We'll get to do at least two of them on season two, so it'll be fun.
Yeah.
You can do Huey Lewis or
Oh
yeah,
yeah, could do Huey
Johnny Be
Lewis.
Good when
Yeah, yeah.
Michael J. Fox invents rock and roll,
Yeah. What
which
about you
maybe
then?
is part of the controversial. Yeah, no, I One Step Beyond I thought was yeah
Yeah, it's a
was
clever
a
one.
great yeah it was a great, and then I was looking at the lyrics and there's just basically no lyrics.
Would you want
So
them to be, because in the music video they're sort of doing this strange sort of march, aren't they? This strange sort of
yeah,
walk.
everyone has
Would
to
you want
leave.
people to be doing yeah, exactly, leaving the church like that? Yeah,
Yeah.
that would be
Also,
good.
I think that sort of walk features on maybe another film that's coming up in the top
Oh,
50
really?
as
Yeah,
well.
well, okay.
Maybe in detention.
We'll
Yeah, but
see.
no,
Yeah.
I thought that again because that also sort of shows it though because Barry sort of comes up with, can we do a top five list for in like honor of Laura's dad? And
Yeah,
he like
yeah,
looks at John Cusack like, is that okay? Whereas obviously
yeah,
before, like at the very start, they like
yeah,
have that fight and stuff. So again, it sort of shows that actually he's not just like a comedy
yeah,
foil, that they do have a relationship, which are yeah,
yeah.
all the
Yeah, I thought
best
Jack Black
scenes
was
for
good in
me.
this as well.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
he's great. I mean, as I said at the beginning, like this is really where he becomes Jack Black, and from here,
yeah,
like I do think like leapfrogs into everything else
yeah,
that he does, and he is really good in it.
yeah. I was trying to think about if you were going to modernize this, if we were going to change something. I was trying to think, what would
Mm.
you change it to? Because you were like, obviously vinyl is coming back, but I don't think you would do vinyl. You'd need to do something else. And I was thinking, what could you do? And it's like something around like Instagrams or like the best memes, the top memes of or
I don't. I
something.
don't think
I
it.
don't
I don't think it
know.
would be an influencer because it's supposed to be almost like a subgenre. I think like gaming, like maybe they would be like an online gaming
But
group
would
of
you?
group of
And then
people.
how would they have it? So they wouldn't have a shop or something then? They'd just sort
Yeah,
of
well,
be
they
in like
just talk
a
talk while they
room.
game. Well, not
Yeah.
even together. They're just while they were gaming, they would
Oh
talk
yeah.
about like top five games that they played, top five kills, top five. Like you could
Yeah.
see because again, yeah, it is supposed to be like that. Let's face it, they play into sort of the geeky alternative
Yeah.
nature of them, right? And so I think yeah, you could do like yeah, like gaming, and then almost it kind of still works with then sort of yeah needing to actually have a real life as well as a life
Yeah.
online with your friends. I think yeah would I think that would probably work quite well.
Yeah. 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 Okay. Well, I was trying to think what you could do. I was definitely trying to think of something around social media, but I think you're right. I don't think that would work. It was a bit challenging. Was there
Mm.
anything else that you thought you could change, or should we go to characters?
Yeah, no, I think houses.
Hmm.
I said actually a bit more music, which
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know, like yeah, because
Yeah.
they talk
He
about music
talked.
quite a lot, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't
He
know. I feel
narrates a
like
lot of the film, doesn't he? So there's
yeah,
not much opportunity for music really, because he's
yeah, it's a
always
great
almost
soundtrack though.
narrating.
Yeah,
Yeah, some good songs in it. Yeah, well, yeah, lovely
yeah.
Bruce Springsteen, new made up songs to check out.
Which character
I had to go
did you
Jack
most
Black.
identify?
I had to. He was. I was trying to think like which characters I really enjoyed, and I mean Tim Robbins good, but I was like, is he in it enough? I was thinking
Yeah.
I did really like Tim Robbins. He was very good in this, and the way they set his character up, like the hair, the glasses, he was really good. But no, I went Jack Black.
I
What
mean,
about
that's
you?
what you're like in the shop all the time. Monday
Yeah, I mean
morning,
that's
you
me.
come in,
Yeah,
you're full of energy.
exactly. Yeah, just bang, let's go. Yeah, top five Michael J. Fox movies. Go. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Who did you
No.
have?
Well, I do think that Dick is actually the funniest character because I
Yeah,
think
okay.
but again, like just the way they treat him to begin with, like when you first see him and he's like making the
Mm,
tape and stuff, he's quite John Cusack's quite like sneery at him, but then actually
yeah,
like yeah, I think he's when he says, "Oh, if you can tell Barry that Laura and I broke up," and he's like,
yeah,
"Yeah, yeah, because." Yeah, I've got other stuff to tell him as well. So,
yeah. And then he's
and
just
it's just
going
the,
on, and you can see John Cusack's like, "I want to stop talking about this. This was supposed to be a quick interaction."
but he does
Yeah,
offer, and then I love it. I love it when he goes to his house and he's like, "What order are you doing this in?" And he's like,
yeah,
"Not alphabetical," and like just the disdain in his voice if he
yeah,
was to have alphabetical.
yeah,
And then he's like autobiographical, and he's like, "No way."
yeah, yeah. And then he contemplates staying there to help
Yeah,
him
exactly. He's like,
rather
I
than
could
go out.
stay and help, and he's like, no,
Yeah,
that's fine. Yeah, no,
no, you should
it's so
go.
funny. But I thought that I would be like Lewis, their friend, who's like who speaks truth to them and is like, you guys are snobs because they'll sell him the
Yeah, yeah,
record.
yeah,
He's like, you just want to
yeah,
look down
yeah,
on everyone.
yeah,
He seems just quite funny. He's popped into the shop for a
yeah.
bit of a laugh, and I
Yeah.
think again it's just a nice little cameo to like show the dynamic of the three of them. Yeah, just in
Yeah.
a quite funny way.
Yeah, and it's that really, like you said, that Jack Black moment coming out, isn't it? Of like,
Yeah.
you're like, oh yeah, this is fun, and he's like, no, 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 I'm not actually going to sell it. So like, really, yeah, that bit coming out. I didn't really get any favorite lines, not because I don't think there weren't any, because I was watching it for the first time, and obviously watching it with more of a critical
Yeah.
eye. Yeah, I just sort of was absorbing it, and there's actually quite a lot because he narrates and that and things. There's quite a
Yeah.
lot you have to sort of watch, so I didn't really catch any lines. Was there much that you caught?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I think there's some great like again because Nick Hornby is a very good writer
Yeah,
of dialogue.
yeah.
I think like it summed up about how just the fact that he just doesn't know what he's doing when he says some people never got over Nam, or when their band opened for Nirvana, I never got over Charlie. You're like, you're comparing splitting up with the girl, first of all, with going to Vietnam, and then secondly, for when their band opened for Nirvana. You're just like, what a very strange reference.
Yeah. It should not be on the same list.
These are top three things that people never get over. I do love it when he says, I'm going to have to tell you, that's the ugliest fucking sweater of all time. It's a Cosby sweater. A Cosby sweater. Which, which always makes me laugh.
That was good.
I think it's really funny when they first meet Lisa Bonet and he says, why did you know about the record shop? And he says, oh, I'm sorry, I didn't know it was classified. I thought no one came to the shop and that was a bad thing. Which again, your sarcasm level, so I can understand it. When he's talking, this was the first time I picked up on this, but when he goes to see Charlie, and he's like talking to the people, and he's like, almost like, I'm no social warrior, and he says, yeah, sure, I want their money and clothes and jobs and opinions, and I'd like to have advice on jet lag. And I think that just that like advice on jet lag being just like just such a sort of a defining
slap in the
thing.
Face.
But like the type of person who has advice for jet lag, you're just like,
we don't need you.
I thought that was funny. And then just a couple more. The one where when they're at the funeral. And he says, well, I can't go on apologizing my whole life. And Joan Cusack's like, just the once will do. And I think that, again, is just like, she's great. Her character just, like nails it. I mean, no, you don't, I can't keep on apologizing. No, just do it once. Just literally once will be enough. And then obviously, he does go over to Laura and apologize. And then she gets back with him. So.
And I think that's where... like, I don't know if it's just John Cusack plays it so well, or if it's just him, or like he's just like his facial features of how he is as an actor. But he sort of absorbs that, but there's no like big realization moment. It's not like in a normal rom-com, there'd been like some light on him. He suddenly like he probably would have, gone from monochrome to color. He'd have been in a different suit. It would have been like, oh wow, he's really understood what this means and he's changed. There's gonna be some music. He's gonna go and say sorry. Whereas he was sort of like, okay, and then still he had to see someone else say sorry to her for him to go, I guess I could do that.
So I'll give that a go. And then he goes and walks in the rain, which is he does walk in the rain quite a lot in this movie. Clearly that was what he felt.
That's almost a John Cusack thing now, isn't it? Like with just thinking about that, I'm sure he does that in other films. He's a bit of a like, what's his name, Tom Cruise and Running. Maybe it's John Cusack and
John Cusack in the rain.
In the rain, he's definitely lucked out of those two. He's not done well.
Exactly. And then just at the end when he says, "I've been thinking with my gut since I was 14 years old, and I've come to the conclusion my gut has shit for brains." You're like, yes, that is the point. Like that is because you're not 14 now. Apparently, you're 35. So, yes, you should realize that at some stage, and that would be good.
On to the reviews then.
Not too many 3-star reviews, and not the greatest comedy to be gleaned from them. One of them though did say, how you sometimes see a film and you think, oh, definitely I'm going to see this film again. That's what I thought until I watched this film for the second time. Random. And I was trying to unpack that as a sentence. So the person is saying, when you see a film and then you think, I'm going to see the film again, but then they've watched it the second time, but they don't then think that's true. And you're like, but you've watched it a second time. Wait, what? Like, so you can't watch a film a second time and then say, I don't think I'm going to watch this a second time. You're a bit like, but you have.
Maybe like us, they wrote half the review. Then they went and watched it the second time, and then wrote the second part of that review.
Maybe,
we've set we've set the tone now. People understand the concept of splitting things in half.
Maybe they were listening to the first half of the pod, and then they finish. If you like a slow film house film with no suspense and a happy ending, I say go for it. I'm not. This is a very confused one. And then, so someone else said one good laugh. When the funeral director throws the switch that lowers the coffin. So
That's not supposed to be funny at all. I don't
I have
understand.
concerns. I have concerns with
Yeah.
that person. I give it
Yeah.
3 stars because it is a great movie to promote celibacy until true marriage. Surely there must be something greater to life than just having intercourse. This movie strongly supports that hope. Again, I'm not sure that this movie promotes
No.
celibacy. Quite the
No.
reverse, in actual
Yeah.
fact.
I mean, her dad dies, and she's like, "I need to have sex because I need to feel something else." I mean,
Yeah,
that's like the exact
yeah,
opposite of celibacy.
yeah.
Yeah,
So that
random.
I think it feels like that's why these people had 3 star
Maybe,
reviews. They were
maybe
hoping.
that was written by a woman, and she was like, "This is a classic example of why you should be celibate because
This is why
the
don't go
emotional
near men.
intelligence of men is just very low."
We'll see if my daughter listens to this in 20 years' time. We'll
Yeah,
see whether she agrees whether men have
yeah.
changed or not. So what did you have for the algo then? It's as you say, it's that
So
rom-com like balance to it.
yeah, exactly. I wouldn't call it. I mean, I don't know if I'd call this a romantic adventure because it's not really an adventure, but it is. It definitely isn't
And
what
that's not a
we
thing.
call. Yeah, yeah. Well, we're starting that. It's definitely not. I would say what a classic rom com. It's got a lot of other stuff going on, and there's some romance embedded into the story. I think. I don't think it's the key part of the story necessarily. So
Yeah.
I was trying to think of similar films like that, and actually, I thought Cocktail's actually quite similar in a way, maybe a bit more romantic, but it's all set in obviously a lot of it's set around the record shop. Well, actually, a lot of cocktails set in, they're just in the bar together, right? And there's the two of them
Yeah.
talking, and then relationships develop around them in that bar setting. And they even take the bar setting out of where they are into a big corporate one. Then they take it on the bar setting onto the beach. So it's still the same setting, but they just sort of move it around. So I thought Cocktail was quite a good one.
Glimpse of
500 Days of Summer.
season 2 there. Just
Oh yeah, the Cocktail was a good movie, and definitely would be in my top 100. I think 500 Days of Summer was also I thought, and
okay.
then maybe Lost in Translation. So that's sort of where I was sort of at.
Okay.
What did the Algo come up
Well,
with?
the algo started with the breakup, which obviously is just yeah, is the one with Jennifer Aniston and thingy, the tall one,
Vince Vaughn.
Vince Vaughn.
Yeah,
Yeah, which obviously is just they've just read the liner notes because I don't think those two are very similar at all. Then, funnily
yeah,
enough, does say 500 Days of Summer,
nice.
and then goes into Bridget Jones, which again I don't think is right. And then Eternal Sunshine, they said, but I think Eternal
Yeah,
Sunshine is about so much other stuff.
yeah,
Although it is obviously about
yeah.
splitting up with someone and how you deal with that, but tonally, Eternal Sunshine's nothing like this, obviously. So
No, yeah, and I don't. I think Bridget Jones is a bit more different to what we're calling a
rom
classic
com,
rom com, but it is still it's more romantic than this. It is still on the scale of rom com, the rom com scale. It's definitely more
yeah,
rom com than non rom com. So
yeah.
yeah, I reckon I might have pulled it out of the bag with Cocktail. I think that might have pushed me over the edge.
I think yeah, you just about take it with
Oh,
both agreeing
nice.
on 500 Days of Summer, which I think is yeah
Yeah,
is a good one. They also had
yeah.
Annie Hall, the Woody Allen.
Haven't seen that.
Again, like Woody Allen, obviously very script
Yeah.
focused, but okay, you can
Yes.
have that one. You can have that one.
Another win. Awesome. So where are we at now with that? We must be doing pretty
That's
well.
yeah, 27-20. You got
Yeah, streaking
it's
ahead. It's
yeah,
going to need
starting
a
to
big comeback in the top 50, you know,
wow. It's
or a
possible.
complete collapse from myself. Yeah, one or the other.
What?
Both seem
It's
plausible.
possible.
Yeah.
Either
Join us
way.
next week. So it's episode 51. It's number 50. Just to measure with your head.
Still, how
Where
does that work?
where
Please
where
write
does
in
it
and tell
go on
us
your
how that
list?
works. Yeah, so yeah, I was sort of a bit torn on this. I still the
Mm,
second half I do think is really really great, and I really
yeah.
enjoyed it. Again, as I say, a bit like with Limitless, that first
Mm,
half just yeah,
drags a bit.
it's just getting worse. Like he's such an idiot in it, and obviously I
Yeah.
do think that like a part of it is kind of recognizing that. I do think you're supposed to be
Mm.
laughing at him. It's not like you're supposed to, yeah, be on his side. So I do think it does slip down
Have to
a
drop.
little bit.
That's fair. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I was sort of looking at where my sort of
Mm.
where we've got gaps.
Yeah.
And then my eye just again got drawn to Clueless down at
Yeah.
65. And again I just thought like,
Oh,
is
it's a much
Clueless
better movie.
is Clueless a better movie than this? Would I prefer
It
to watch
definitely is.
Clueless? And yeah, I would agree with that. So
Yeah.
actually, and everything above Clueless as well. I was thinking like, yeah, I probably would rather watch that than this. So yeah, I think
Yeah.
it's going to go in at 65 and
Okay.
kind of move everything else up, which is
Yeah.
gonna take us weeks to have a look at the spreadsheet because that's a lot of movies now. But yeah, no, I'm gonna put
Yeah.
it in at 65 because I do still really enjoy the second half.
Yeah.
I do think it's good, and yeah, I kind of wish that the whole film. I think because it's
Mm.
the second half, so that's like what you remember when you finish watching it.
Yeah,
It kind of
true.
it takes away the first half, but that first half this time I was a bit like,
Yeah.
yeah, this is
Yeah.
more
It
difficult
was
to get through than I remember.
yeah, yeah, similar to like you said with Limitless. But then the thing, and obviously with Limitless is it's almost like it's just boring. Whereas this, like you're saying, is like actually feels like it's not, it doesn't hold up, which I guess
Well, it's
is
also, I
different
mean,
as
Limitless,
well.
he becomes basically the most intelligent man in the world and he just uses it to sleep with women. So I don't think
Yeah,
it's,
yeah. That's
it's
right. They don't
problematic as well.
yeah, they could definitely, we said, didn't they? They just don't need that whole scene in the hotel and stuff. It is really random.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah,
trying to remember, I've read the book. I'm trying to remember if that's in the book or not. They probably flesh it out a bit more as an actual, like, concerning scene.
yeah.
Anyway, that's another
How
film. We
about
can't keep reviewing two films every podcast.
how about you? Where's it landed in your
Yeah,
list?
for me, 21 of 50. So in the
Okay,
good section, this
in
is
the
my
goods.
first watch of it. And I think, having just spoken to you about it, I could see how if I watched it again and then again, I could see it slowly moving further and further down the list. Like as
Yeah,
the first watch, I was like, yeah, okay, it was enjoyable, something a bit different. John Cusack's good. But yeah, I can see how, like you're saying, if you keep rewatching it, it could go further down. But yeah, for me, 21, so just below Lord of the Rings and just above My Neighbor Totoro. So
okay,
yeah, in the good section.
nice,
Yeah.
nice.
Hmm.
Cool. Well, there we go. Yeah, again, definitely business end of the
Yeah.
list now, as we've said seven or eight
Yeah.
times. We'll get over it, don't worry. 25 is obviously the next big one.
Yeah.
So for next week,
Yes.
a classic
Oh.
line. When's your birthday? 22nd of February. What year? Every year. It's just classic. Thanks to Tom Miller for the theme song as ever, and we'll see you in the shop next week.